everybody. I had a lot going on along with targeting, V2K, just psychological warfare tactics, a lot of stress going on. So I'm taking 2 days off till Sunday, and we'll be back. I am going to read the Psalms before I go. This is Delle's interview, by the way. She came on about 4 weeks ago, and I edited the video. It took me 2 hours, 2.5, but I edited it that way because she deserves to have her interview heard. And I took the time, went back and listened to the parts that needed to be edited and got them out of the way. And so that's what's coming on after I read this psalm. Psalm 110 is the one I just turned to. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. The Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. Your troops will be willing on your day of battle, arrayed in holy splendor. Your young men will come to you like dew from the morning's womb. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is your right hand. He will crush kings on the day of his wrath. He will judge the nations, heaping up the dead and crushing the rulers of the whole earth. He will drink from a brook along the way, and he will lift his head up high. So all the TIs, keep your head held high, no matter what you're going through. Never let them see you suffer. And I will see y'all Sunday. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave, and Delle did a interview with me for about a year ago, and she said she's had some new stuff come up and wants to come on here and talk about it. Um, she's been targeted since 2020, and if you go back, you got to go back in the videos to see her first. She has a pretty interesting story. So, Delle, you want to just start out telling us what's going on, and I'll ask you questions from there.
Yeah. Um, Quick recap in case you don't want to scroll and find it. It's a long one. Back in 2020, when I work up at a very excluded mountaintop pot farm, and about 5 months in, I started having V2K symptoms, which I originally thought was like superhuman hearing. It's kind of funny, but it was also driving me bonkers. I had a 5 day sleep denial, straight 5 days sleep denial. Um, and then the V2K hit, and my handler number one took me to like mental hospitals, got me diagnosed, instantaneously ruined my credibility with anyone who would ever care. And fast forward to 5 years later, um, I recently just moved out to the Bay Area. My family situation like just slowly declined, and people adamantly um disbelieve this is a very real thing, um that the technology is available. I get the why are you so special type questions, and of course V2K has an answer for everything, but they are liars and they like to confuse and call me 5 years confused still. Um, but yeah, I moved out here with a person that was actually a friend of mine. Like 16 years I've known this girl, and I moved in with her. She's a full-time educator. She got really sick when I moved in with her, and I got sick for like 4 days. Historically, if I'm gonna get a virus, like a systemic virus like that, I'm gonna be out for like a week or two. But I was only showing symptoms of being sick for 4 days, and I 100% believe that these perps had like a hand in minimizing the time that I spent sick, which is just ridiculous because my immune system is already hates me. But anyway, situations with her were really rocky, and
Is it because hers lasted longer than yours?
No, 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 because I was helping to take care of her. Like I was always making her tea, making sure she was hydrated. I was cooking for her. I was really trying to make sure that she was taken care of, try to be a really good roommate. Um, but there's something happened to where she just wasn't able to communicate anything with me anymore, and that just kind of slowly divulged into like super toxic, like just really toxic behavior on both of our parts. And I 16 years is a really long time to have a friend and to know a person, especially at my age. I mean, it's kind of appropriate for my age. I'm, in my early 30s, and it just got bad. But she introduced me to she had these people come over. I was living in her living room on a bed in her living room, and I didn't have like a closed door like I do now. But she would constantly have friends over, Tinder people, just strangers. And I'm going through this
Mm.
stuff the whole time, like freaking out about like security, freaking out about my dog, like because I had to leave her. I finally was able to get
Rightfully
a
so.
job. Yeah, dude. And I ultimately ended up moving in with two of the people that she frequently brought over. And it's a couple, and then there's another fellow who lives here. It's his home. And I don't really know these people. I have a rule that's like if I don't know you for more than 5 years and you're not related to me, I don't trust you. I don't know you.
Right.
But I did not really have a choice. So that's pretty much where I am right now in this home where I have these moments where I'm like, okay, they don't seem like perps. They seem like normal, regular people. And then I have other moments where I'll have V2K symptoms. Um,
Mm.
and just a bunch of things, and they'll biohack them too. They will biohack them and have them do things or say things or make noises that make me go, "Oh, no, that's a perp right there," you know? The paranoia is intense, and it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle.
Have
Um,
you thought about trying to do what I mentioned with me and Holly? Like, just tell your paranoia, all right, I have to make this work or else. And if it don't work, then I do have to figure out something out. So why don't I tell my paranoia I'm gonna give it 2 months, 1 month, 3 months, and if it's still going on and I still think the same way, then I'll act on it. Other than that, I'm gonna turn my paranoia off and give
hmm
these people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's really the only way a TI can make it anywhere is to turn it off for a minute and tell yourself, all right, I'm not listening to you. You've lied to me and destroyed so many situations that might not even have been what it was. So I'm going to step back. I'm going to turn you off and wait a couple months. And if I'm still thinking the same way, then I'll do something. I mean, that me and Holly was talking about that the other night, and I really think that's a good advice to give TIs because we were trying to figure out how to tell TIs to live with somebody else because we had a friend that went through some stuff and it didn't work out. So yeah, I mean, we find that a lot. I went to 5 different places I was invited in 2018, and I'm convinced one of them was real. Well, two of them were real. I'm convinced, and one of them I just left. The other one freaked out on me, and the next day thought I was a perp, kicked me out. Um, and I was only there like 1 day, so I'm done took a plane to Philadelphia, and I got kicked out the same day. I mean, the next day, and I really ain't no perp. So I've seen this happen many times in the community, and then now you're in a vulnerable situation because you don't know these people and you done moved in with them. Now your V2K is telling you all kinds of crazy stuff. So I guess you'd have to ask yourself, is it better just to turn off my paranoia, give it in your situation, I'd probably, if I was going to do it, I'd say, all right, I'm going to give it a month and a half. Be a
hmm
different if you're in a relationship, you're trying to make a relationship work. But I mean, what would you say, Holly, a month and a half?
Yeah,
People she don't know?
month and a half to 2 months.
That's hard to do, but that means every time the V2K tries to say, "Oh, they're going to do this to you," "Oh, they're up to this," you got to turn it off. I mean, that's the only way I made it with Holly. I had to turn it off because my V2K was telling me off, and still does sometimes, don't it?
Oh yeah.
And I have to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because what it is
Yeah.
you become sensitized to all this stuff that happens to you. And so if somebody coughs, if your perps cough, and they also use influence mapping. That means if Holly likes Mountain Dew, they'll make all my perps around me start perping me with Mountain Dew in their hand. That way I start thinking Holly's a perp because she's doing Mountain Dew. You see, it's called influence mapping.
Influence mapping.
So they might influence the people in your house to do stuff that you consider perping, and you not even know they're influencing them.
There definitely have been some very strange coincidences, like I was mentioning earlier, or influence mapping, that I've noticed, things that I would normally consider, or things that I would know or grew up watching, or just certain select memories or stimuli that, I thought was maybe a little niche, um, and that I recognized in other people, my coworkers, my roommates. I definitely recognize that behavior of influence mapping. It's very stressful. And yeah, I definitely, even though in this point, since I was living with my mom before, um, so like, moving out here cost like everything I had saved up.
Oh yeah.
So I'm in a situation actually where, even if I was to want to go and do a solo and try to get like a studio with me and my doggy, um, that's just not feasible right now. I am like awful at
Because you
saving
used your
money.
resources, right?
Resources are spent. I am like paycheck to paycheck, and it's
Is there no way you can go back to your mom or your friend of 16 years?
uh you know I'm so conditioned to have so much aggression, not aggression, but like disdain towards my friend of 16 years, just because of how things really went down and how unnecessary her literal aggression was towards me. Um I can't do that one. And then back to mom's, that's just I'm not trying to go all the way back up there.
Right.
Um, yeah.
That had to be scary living in a house where somebody's inviting all these Tinder people over because me and Holly watched something the other day where this dude was a hitman on Tinder and he was unaliving people for this girl. He unalived this dude for this girl on Tinder. So anyway, it's so Tinder can get crazy.
Yeah, man, she was bringing people from Tinder over, from these sex clubs. She was bringing those people over. It was very rough, very rough. It would have been easier if I had a door, if I could
Did you
shut
have
and lock my.
V2Ks telling you stuff like they're gonna murder you? They're gonna murder you both, stuff like that's what they my V2K would be telling me in that situation, probably.
No, it wasn't anything as intense as, oh, they're gonna murder you, but it's more like, the V2K was playing into my paranoia regarding like sabotaging certain things of mine that I might have had in the house. Like if I left
Oh,
products for the shower, like, bath time stuff in the shower, like it's accessible, things like that. We're putting, graphene oxide in your shampoo and your soap, and, we're poisoning you, type things like that. But it
yeah,
wasn't.
they put Holly came home one day and said back in her targeting, she used her shampoo and it made some of her hair fell out, some of it. So you got to watch your
uh,
shampoo and stuff around other people. Mm.
exactly. Yeah. So I am at the point though, since I'm here, I'm dug in. This is my trench. This room that is entirely too small for me and my large dog. But I have a door, I have locks, I have a window. I'm not a big fan that it faces the street, but it is what it is. I'm trying to build like a little nest for myself with all my creature comforts, and just try to really lean on my home space. And even my roommates sometimes, even though I don't 100%, trust them. And it'll be like that for anyone I meet, from 2020 for the rest of my life. Um so, I just cope. It's coping. Trying not to drink so much because leaning on drinking for coping is really rough. And that's another reason why I can't, why paycheck to paycheck is such a thing. It's
And
rough.
did you ever try the garlic thing?
The allium, Allison.
Out, yeah.
No, I never did try it, but I was reminded when I was watching your videos the other day, I need to press it. I need to get, and I don't know how to do that. And it's on my list of things to do. Plus a bunch of other supplements for like heavy metal detox.
Hasn't been letting me put links ever since I got demonetized. So I had to verify. I figured out how to do it, and I will start putting links. So if there's any videos y'all are watching and y'all don't see a link, just remind me so I can go put it back. And I do have all my stuff to make the EMP. Uh, I got this, the taser, the wire, and that. And I'll be contacting Andrew soon when I get time to, because I'll probably make a video on how to do it. But I don't know if it works, but people's been saying they've been getting results. The EMP thing, the stun gun EMP, that supposedly deactivates the stuff in your body. But you will, if you do the stun gun, you would still get your probably V2K, he said, and gang stalking and stuff's never going to stop, probably. Sorry for interrupting. I just had them announcements to make.
Oh, that's all good.
So what happened? Did your paranoia run you away from your friend? Would you say? Not your paranoia. I don't like calling it paranoia because it's not paranoia. It's V2K. Did you listening to your V2K run you away from your friend, would you say? Or do you think they were manipulating both y'all's emotions? Because they can make you angry. They do it to me.
Yeah, I really think less than the V2K, just because I've known her for so long, I wasn't worried about her being a perp or even if they might have put her voice in my head, which they did. I 100% refuse to believe that she would even take money or be swayed by whatever nonsense that they um somehow would have like a smear kind of campaign, like anything like that. I don't believe that she would ever believe anything like that. Um, what really drove me away from her was the fact that she there was a specific event where she had done something and I was talking to my father on the phone about it and she had come out of her room and was screaming at the top of her lungs at me. And I never took that it might be surprising, but I never took that any aggression or I never displayed any sense of um malice towards her simply because she was doing me a huge favor and I really needed her. I needed that familiarity, that trust, you know? Um so I was
Somebody you knew and trusted for years. Yeah.
years. And the whole thing about her too is her sister is really my best friend on this planet. And it was really through her sister that I met her. And there's a lot of respect there. There's a lot of trust there. But ultimately I think that they were biohacking her and maybe even speaking to her with V2K using her own voice so she could have mistaken that for her thoughts. I really don't know and I never had the opportunity to discuss it with her. But she just became very over controlling towards the end and it was to a point where I couldn't even move a chair temporarily to watch a movie. Um and it was a really big deal for her that I moved her chair. And I didn't even move it like across the room. I just rotated it and like pulled it out half a foot just so I could see the television. And, that so ultimately she actually got a notarized eviction notice and had it on my bed when I came back from visiting my family in Sacramento. So I
Wow.
probably would have stayed for a little longer if it wasn't for that notice that she put on my bed.
Now,
And
have you told your roommates that you're a TI and all that?
I do, and I have. one of them in particular seems to understand slightly more, but is very still hesitant to acknowledge the very real technology and targeting around it. There's always leaning back to, oh, well, have you tried therapy? Have you, talked to a psychiatrist and been on medications? And the answer is yes. Yes, I have for years. And unfortunately, that's not something that's effective, you know? Um, after shortly after our last interview, I actually went back to a mental hospital um because they had ramped up the V2K so bad, and another TI that you actually have done an interview with, he interviewed you. I don't want to drop his name or anything, but I 100% don't trust him because that
Mhm.
night I was preparing to go to New York. I was supposed to go to New York to visit my family out there, and they ramped up the the V2K and the biohacking just so intensely at that point, and he was a part of it. And he had called me once to discuss something totally randomly. And I don't think it was random because once again, this type of coincidence is ridiculous. To discuss something with me regarding himself and another TI, and to catch up just suddenly randomly as I'm preparing to leave for New York. And we have a quick discussion about targeting and all this stuff. And then we get off the phone and V2K starts up and it's his voice in my head now. It's him directly talking to me. And it didn't seem like a chatterbot, uh, or anything like that, or a voice sample, because it sounded exactly like him and, whatever, how they do. And I'm just preparing.
And did it
And
keep you from going to New York? Did it mess
yeah,
up your?
yeah, they
Oh,
did. hmm It
was
did.
that part of it? That call part of it?
A huge part of it.
Hmm.
Because it wasn't just the one call. It was after a second, I started to try to reason it out. Like, nah, he's not a perp. This is coincidence. This is straight coincidence. Um, and they're like, okay, you don't get it. Let me make this clear. He calls me back again, again, that same night as I'm packing and I'm just trying to explain it away. And he calls me back, and that solidifies the fact that this person is a perp. I'll never change my mind about that. Never, never. Um, because I got it. After the second call, I got it. I get it. You're working with him. Thanks. Thanks, guy. Um, so that night, as I'm like packing and intensely paranoid and messed up, I get the death threats again. You have to um what they constantly say to me every day and pretty much every day since then is you have to sacrifice yourself um or unalive yourself. And I just have to say, even though this is incredibly difficult to go through, I have absolutely no intention of unaliving, sacrificing, or anything like that,
Right.
because we're eventually going to find the solution for this. It's going to come out at some point. It's going to get easier. Let's see. Anyway, so they tell me that, and then my family is really riled up at this point too. So I end up going to another the mental hospital again, and I stayed for the longest time I'd ever stayed, which was 17 days. And I know that's not a lot, and it's not like it was jail or something, but it was still just as awful. And then they let me out Christmas Eve last year.
Hmm.
And then from there, I really wasn't allowed to stay with my mom anymore. So I was like living in hotels, and I was too afraid to sleep in my car. So all of my resources that I had on hand went to staying in hotels. And and then I messaged my friend, and she was like, "Yeah, slide." So I drove all the way out here, and that didn't work out. Another weird coincidence though is that That spot that I originally moved out to live with my friend, she's a 5 minute walk down the street. And her friends that she met originally from Tinder, who I'm living with now, um, 5 minutes, 5 minute walk. I drive by her apartment building to get to the freeway to get to work. And he said something to me sometime after I moved in, sometime shortly after I moved in, and it was something like, I knew you were going to end up moving here. Like that would fuck any TI. Sorry. That would mess any TI up though. I knew
Hmm.
you were going to move here. I'm like, you bloody perps. So battle,
You think
battle.
it would be better? You know, I've questioned some of the, back in my when I was on the streets and trying to find people, I would just tell everybody about it. And I think sometimes that runs people off, makes people start putting boundaries up instantly, shot. So do you think would you think you might have been better off not mentioning it, just trying to act like a normal person, just talk about it with certain TIs?
Probably, probably,
Because people would start prejudging. Oh gosh, she's saying she's here in V2K, and oh no, you know,
right?
just
Oh,
prejudgmental.
got a crazy one. Yeah.
They have no
Um,
clue of what is really going on, and if it happened to them, they'd be begging for help.
mm.
And that's why I really think when they roll this out on the whole population, if that's the case, because really, I can sit here and deliver information. Uh, Richard Lighthouse can say information. Sabrina Wallace can say information, but really, I've done some deep thoughts. Maybe we don't, maybe nobody has a clue. I mean, I can say, well, my research comes up with, I think they've got us all going down rabbit holes and the whole truth's hidden. I mean, the best we can do is learn how some things work and learn about some technology and how to block it. But does anybody really have the answer in this community? I never claim to. I just put the stuff out there I find. I personally think we all got it wrong.
It's possible. Um, it's definitely possible that none of us really have it right. One could really only speak on their experiences, right? That's
Hmm.
how you that's the only way to really know for sure is what you experience. That's what my brother tells me. It's like I don't experience it like you. Now, some people like, can look at these 5G towers and say, that's making my internet faster, and you could,
Well, when I was on the phone with Xfinity a few weeks ago, the dude said, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but 5G will make your internet a little faster, but that's not what it's for.
of course. Yeah, I'm
Now, he didn't
surprised.
tell me it was weapons or nothing, but because I was like, well, because I was trying to do something for my father-in-law, and his 5G would not work when we transferred the phone service. And I'm like, well, he don't got five. And he's like, well, let me tell you a secret. 5G don't make it no faster than 4G. I'm like, okay. Which I think it does a little bit, not much.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't know
They,
anything about the science that goes into those towers and those panels. But all I know is that every time I drive by one, they make me not happy. Can't stand them. Cannot. I was actually watching a short early this morning, and it was like in China or something like that, where people are pushing those things over, destroying them and vandalizing them. So they
I don't
know.
advise that to none of my people watching this.
Never, never
Right.
do that ever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I got like a little sense of like, oh, maybe there is a little hope for humanity, you know?
And I question if the tires have anything to do with it because I was way, way in the swamp with no electricity, nothing, and still heard V2K. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I was up in the mountains.
So did your handler, the one you said, I think if I'm not mistaken, you said something about before you got off the interview last time that he was in contact with you again. Has he tried contacting you anymore?
The person I believe was the second handler,
The
or
one at the farm.
oh, him? No, no, no. Not since what was it, 2020? the end of 2023.
Oh, maybe it's the second handler I was thinking of then.
Yeah, this other guy that I was talking to that I met online. I'm pretty sure at this point, since I'm completely convinced, that that person was a handler and had a good deal in the emotion mapping, and mapping my responses to certain things, because I would talk to this person every day and soon begin to rely on um, communications from this person. And he, no, I blocked him last year at the end of last year, and I haven't talked to him since, but I do hear him every day. He's got a couple of roles still, but V2K had told me that he was they hired him um for that mapping, that brain mapping, emotional mapping, reaction mapping, um and they constantly thank him. They constantly thank him in in the V2K, and they constantly tell him that they're so proud of him, which could just be um I was listening to the Project Soulcatcher read through. I think this was from like maybe 12 or read through 12 or 13 or 14 about the certain types of phrasing that they'll use to elicit reactions. And it definitely frustrates me to hear that all the time, but no, I haven't talked to that guy. Um, and I never will. I did, however, the other day I was going through a very long fit of anger and I unblocked him on my phone, and I was like pushing the V2Ks, like, have him call me so I can scream at him, but I'm gonna block him back again. I don't want to speak to him. I never want to hear his voice in the real world again.
Somebody posted this, and this is some good advice. It says, when dealing with V2K, try not to listen to their actual words. Try to start training yourself to believe it's just a noise, just annoying noise with absolutely no meaning. Try to think of that noise as a radio in the next room and it's got some stupid broadcast that has nothing to do with you, because it doesn't. It truly has nothing to do with you, but because everything said is a lie. You are not what they say or it says. It's just a noise. And I've tried that since then. I mean, it's feasible a lot of the times, and it can really help some people. I feel. Um, but
Interesting
some
advice.
people just have a hard time blocking it out because it's so amazing that you got these different voices talking and interacting with you, and nobody else can hear them.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's I don't know what's worse, like the pain recordings that they send me, or the burns, or the
Could you
VTK.
describe some of that and what you experienced with that?
Yeah, so whenever I experienced a pain, at least back in the beginning, before they completely mapped my brain, um, they would record the pain and then roll it back. So if I kick a table, or if I get scratched by a cat, and I work with animals, so I'm a veterinary assistant, so if I lots of workplace injuries happen. They can replay that pain and like throb it, and it pulses. It's always like a pulsing specific pains. And that's pretty frustrating to deal with. Um, and then they also they can open and close my trachea. I don't know if it's exactly that, but sometimes they make it very difficult to breathe. Like, I am a smoker and everything, so if something were pulmonary related, oh, it's natural causes or whatever, but they told me you're about to take your hat off. Mm. Um,
It's just got too warm. It was cold.
yeah. Um, Yeah, they can just replay that any sensation, and I think they can even make their own at times too. I actually go through a good deal of the day not really being able to feel pain. Um and I know I have it. Um Like I have lower back pain. I've had that for a little while. And I'm just unable to feel it for most of the day. Um, until they want me to. Um, my sinuses, they'll like make my sinuses run and I have the window closed, so I'm sneezing for like 30 minutes straight and then it just stops for no reason. But there's still plenty of pollen outside, but I'm not outside. I'm inside with the doors and the windows closed. So why am I sneezing? You know, a bunch of stupid stuff like that. It's very frustrating. Um, then what's really fun is the workplace injuries. They can intensify it. Um, yeah.
Intensify it, what, where you, to make it where you can't go into work?
Well, that's something I've been facing for the past couple days actually. Like I messaged you earlier about, having to go into urgent care for workers' comp because I was at work and I was restraining a really buff dog, a really buff Frenchie actually, and he did not want to sit still for his blood draw. So I'm really like flexing and like trying to hold on to him. But like for the past like month or so, I've had this weird sensation in my arm when I would go to restrain the animals. And then on Saturday, it just blew way out of proportion. And so I had to go to urgent care and get that looked at. And the doctor's like, "Oh, your muscle is strained and your tendon is strained, so you can't do any of that work while that heals." And she sent me home with like a bag of crap, like it's not all crap, She gave me like a heating pad and some kind of thing, topical rolly, like I don't know.
Biofreeze or something?
Yeah, yeah. And then Tylenol and ibuprofen. And I tried to tell her, like, I'm not going to take the Tylenol. I'm not going to take the ibuprofen. I have some at home. I'm not going to take it anyway. I don't even take medications anymore for any pains. It's kind of useless. Even if it's like a persistent pain, I'm somehow, for some reason, allowed to feel my pain, which is not all the time, like I mentioned. Um, Taking something like that is not going to help because my brain has already recorded the response to it. I don't think it's going to help with the swelling. They can do that. They do that. It's probably still swollen, but I'm not going to feel it. So I don't remember to try to do anything about it.
I
And I
meant to
have this
ask you while we're in this part. You said you drink. Have you ever seen do they make it impossible for you to feel your alcohol when you drink?
sometimes, yeah. It's
Okay.
very frustrating, and I'd like to scream at them about that in my head and externally. Like, I just had a couple shots. I know how I should feel at this point. Why do I feel sober? Which is very frustrating. A TI a person who claims they're a TI, same guy actually who made those two calls to me that night I was packing to go to New York, claimed that there was some kind of surgery that they did where I put a balloon in his stomach. Yeah, that's the
Huh.
guy. That's the
Yeah,
guy.
I know who. Yeah, I know who you were talking about the first time.
Well, I think about that every now and then, and I'm like, oh, is there a balloon in here? Like, are you denying
Nah,
me the effect?
technology is way too advanced. They don't need no balloon.
Exactly. That's way too invasive. Um, but for some reason, I think of that moment. Um, but they do deny me feeling it sometimes. And they control it too. Like they'll allow it to be felt a certain way, and then they will and then they'll take it away, and then it'll just be normal. It's a mixed bag. It's not 100% deny. It's not 100% feel. It's it's mixed. It's on a spectrum or something. I can feel it for a portion of the time, and for the portion of the time I can't. But they want me to keep drinking. Um, so they do allow me to feel it. I feel like if they wanted me to stop, then they would just completely deny the feeling and I would realize how futile it was. But they don't do that. They want me to keep drinking. And not as much as I do though. Because it can be very comforting at times. Yeah, yeah, it's very frustrating. Oh, there was something else I was going to talk about. Oh,
Now,
yeah,
do you get stalked or harassed or anything like that when you leave the house?
I believe so. Um, there are only a few occasions since I stopped being so oblivious to my surroundings that I've noticed 100% gang stalking activity in the surface world. Um, for instance, I was coming home from a festival in the Bay Area, and I was still living with my mom's, and I had an escort follow me all the way home. And I did not believe that they were an escort. I didn't believe that there was anyone following me. So they made me believe it. It was nighttime, and it's a particularly, I mean, I wouldn't say a long drive. It was like about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive. And there wasn't really any traffic by the time I realized that they were following me. So there was plenty of space for them to maneuver around the lanes. And I drive fast. I'm usually in the fast lane. But it was brighting, and then the driver did something, as I was hearing V2K tell them, V2K was telling them and also speaking to me that they were about to do something. And the thing was turning their brights on, right? It's dark. We've already got our headlights on. Um, but they had them turn them off. And we drove for another mile. And the lighting is consistent on this highway. So if you don't need the brights, you tested them out. Sure, I tried to reason it out. Then they didn't need them. They turned them off. So then they turned them back on. They said, "Oh, they're gonna turn them back on. Turn the lights back on now. Turn the brights back on." So they did. They brighted me. They got behind me. They got back over to the fast lane because I moved over to the second lane from the fast lane. Then they drove up like one car's length right behind me and brighted me again. So I was like, okay, this is an escort. They are for sure perping on me right now. So they maintained that distance for a good time. And people in the fast lane out here, we're in the fast lane because we're trying to go. We're trying to get somewhere. Um, and they maintained that distance, brighted me again, and then sped past me, and then maintained a distance ahead of me for a second. And then um, they did that for quite some time, and I was pretty much driving and watching them and driving and watching them until I took my exit. But that was one of the biggest, like, we're out here, moments that I had experienced. Aside from that, I I worked with a doctor that I thought was a perp, mostly because she was one of the only people I felt encouraged to communicate to her about this. And I think she's a TI too, or she's a perp. The perps, at least she's such a smart woman. She had me convinced that she might be a TI. She suggested I go stand in front of an EMP. I thought that was really funny. But she had taken a certain interest in
Stand in front of
region.
what?
An EMP?
And where would you find one of them at?
Like, I don't know. I work with animals. I don't have access to that tech.
Right.
But
I don't
she
think nobody does. That's like if there was an EMP, all of our electronics would stop working unless you make something like I'm gonna make. Did you see that interview, by the way?
No, which one is
Where
it?
the one where he made the EMP from the stun gun.
Is it the one with Andrew?
Yeah, with the speaker wire, the blue gun. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
gonna check that one out today. And I definitely will be following to make sure, because if that helps, so how does that even work? You gotta shock yourself like zzz.
oh no, the cord has insulation on it. So you got speaker wire. Speaker wire's got the rubber around it. So you got a spark gap coming out of the taser. So then you got some kind of cardboard holding it up. So anyway, so when you put the middle, so it's gonna look like something like this, and you're gonna have the speaker wire right there. And So it's going to spark and send the stuff into the speaker wire, and the middle of the circle is what you're going to put over your body. So no, it don't shock you. Now, if you put that's the piece of the wire that's cut against your skin, it will, yeah. But you got to be very careful.
Okay. I'm gonna check that interview out and 100% watch your progress with building this little
Yeah,
EMP.
I'm thinking about doing a video and showing how but I really got to figure out how before I do it because it look kind of tricky because I don't have the same kind he's got. Mine is my taser don't have the two things that come up. Mine goes straight across as you can see.
Oh yeah, yeah. Little
Now
prongs.
I have a taser that has the things that come up, but I don't want to use that. That's my good one.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think of what else. Is there you have anything else?
There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about. I know in the TI community there's been some uncertainty about the perps' abilities to biohack animals, but
They
I
can.
I've seen it. Like I have
Matter of fact, Jose Delgado, non the first non-implant communicate he's well actually he sent pulses into this bull and made him stop right before he got to the to this place. So look up Jose Delgado. The first experiments on this biohacking was with animals, was with the actual bull. He stopped a bull mid stride. So I don't know how they can say animals can't be biohacked. That's totally false.
they can and they will. It's kind of annoying what they do. My dog Lux, she's a great girl, but I don't know like the percentage and the frequency with which they do biohack her. It's very frustrating to watch. Um, but I do know that they've sent her into like respiratory distress for a certain amount of time. Um, and they also can, like they did with that bull, make her stop moving, make her relocate herself. Um, excuse me. I put her in my bed, and I know it's very natural for dogs to want to come and sleep in your own bed, and my dog is like that too. But they, without fail, have her, especially if I'm sleeping on my side or on my stomach, they will have her lay a certain way to where like every day, multiple times a day, if I'm when I'm chilling with her or when I'm sleeping or trying to lay down, they will have her kick me right in the butt every flippin' night. And it's kind of funny, but it gets really frustrating after it happens every night. So your animals, insects around you, like if you have pests in your home, um, mosquitoes, bees in the environment outside, they can tap into not just animals, not just you and the humans around you. They'll tap into bugs, other
I'm trying to
creatures.
find this video and see if it's got up. They may have made me take it down because it wasn't hmm. Anyway, it was a video where they showed they can make they make a mouse violent. They show him calm, and then they start hitting him with frequencies, and then he gets violent. I mean, you can so yeah, biohacking in animals is very possible. I wish I could find it because I wanted to so you could show whoever. I mean, it's an experiment where they prove. I mean, they're showing a rat, they're making him violent.
That's so unnecessary. I just don't understand. Like the understanding I have is like what do they want using this deploying this technology? Is it
Well,
for
they're I
total
think
obedience?
they're going to roll it out on the whole world.
Well, they can already tune in and tap into anyone, like anywhere I go.
Like we're
They're
the beta test for all this mind control stuff. Is what the way I understand it.
or at least ones that know that they're being mind controlled.
Yeah, I'm sending you that video right now to your email.
Okay.
So
Okay.
well I can yeah, your email because I don't well I can send it text too.
Whichever. If it's in my email, I'll find it. If you want to text it, that's fine too. Yeah, it's really frustrating. They do a lot of things physiologically too, like instill certain like diseases or infections and things that would be considered to obtain normal or natural. But when it's so frequent and it's very frustrating. They keep giving my dog like urinary tract infections.
Matter of fact, I think I can watch this. Go right here. Go right here. And go right here. Okay. All right, I sent you the video, but I'm gonna share it so everybody can see this. This is controlling behavior. Watch this. There it is.
Oh, and he's just gnawing his own arm. Jeez.
Laser off, laser on, hunt and kill, activated. With the laser off, they're letting the bug just walk around. When they turn the laser on, he hunts and kills the bug. Well,
That's awful. It's really terrifying too, because as much as people say like, "Oh, I have no intent to harm myself or others," and they genuinely mean it, such as myself, you, and anyone else who would say who feels like they have to say something like that. It's like ultimately when they turn this crap on, what choice would we have?
well, I think that's the reason. Oh, that's another reason I think that we're the beta test. They pick strong-minded people. So let me read this. This is very important. And while I'm reading it, this program is designed to make you destroy yourself. They run psyops. You react to the psyops in negative ways and destroy your life. All they're doing is running psyops. You're destroying yourself. If you really think about it, that's what happened. That's what happened with me years ago. I didn't know what was going on, didn't understand what was going on, and all these decisions I made because of all the stuff they were doing. You know, you're running around, you spend your resources that you've saved up moving, trying to get away from it. Then you realize, oh, I'm broke. Just just decisions of not being educated about this, and you destroy yourself. They don't have to do nothing but psyops. So if you can learn to see through all the psyops, besides the direct energy pain, um, and you can't do nothing about that besides if this blocking thing Amy Holm has works or this EMP thing works. But the gang stuff, all this psyops is designed where there's plausible deniability in any accusation you make, and and then you just destroy yourself. So it looks like you just went crazy and destroyed yourself when really they're in the background really doing stuff, but it's really mind games.
It's so messed up.
And I wanted to read this. This was interesting. Somebody sent me this the other day, and I'm going to interview this dude soon. He's in Greece, but this makes a lot of sense because you're talking about why are they doing this to us? Well, if I got if I've got $1 million technology, and I'm trying to test it out, I'm not going to. I'm going to make sure I test it out on the strongest minded people, because if you test it out on weak minded people, of course it's going to work, But listen to what he says. He says, the last data I got from a whistleblower was 6 years ago in 2017. He said 60% to 70% of the U.S. population are writable and 100% readable. Then they start to send the gang stalk Homeland Security to stalk those who are not predictable because it's known if you're traumatized, you run on a personality level. Personalities are linear structures that are predictable, while hard conscious is nonlinear and unpredictable. So they send out these trolls to terrorize innocent people because they still have a heart and are unpredictable. So so it's kind of like we're set to be watched because our mind's kind of like divergent, I would say. Well, not as smart as divergent, but you know what I'm saying? That's what he said. He got that from a whistleblower. So
Mm.
we're basically not predictable, so we have to have people watch us, monitor us, because the way he said it, the whistleblower told him most of the population's 100% readable, but the ones that are not are in this program.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I thought about it. I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And because you're not going to test technology out on stuff on people that it works 100% and it's so easy. You want to test you want to, if I got a technology I'm testing out, I want to push it to the limits. I want the
Right? They want the
hardest people.
control group.
I want the hardest people to mind control, the smartest minds, the most strongest mind, and I really think that's part of it.
That tracks. That does make a lot of sense. They'd have to have, when you really think about the ba so basic as like the scientific method, you always have to have like a control group, you know? And then you need all of these different variations um to try to map out the different personalities, the different minds, the way that other people could possibly think so that they could learn from their brains how to put that on other people who are similarly uncontrollable or variable.
Yeah, and they're using our raw emotion recorded and giving it to AI. They're trying to make AI feel emotion,
Well, I mean,
which is
shoot,
scary.
if you look at the progress of like say for instance Chat GPT from like back when it was first rolled out and accessible to the AIs that are all accessible now like DeepSeek and what is it, Llama and all of these other AI, there's a huge variation in like just their speaking, their speech patterns. And like they really are trying to make them seem extremely human, but they just have this like vast access to knowledge and information. And it's kind of funny because a lot of streamers and influencers are asking these AI questions and they're showing, on camera, like the AI answering these questions, where they previously were not able to answer. They didn't have
Yeah,
answers for
like
these
I
questions.
asked it if they could, if hacking the human brain was possible, and it said yes, very possible. Yes, it is possible, and it gave like 7 different ways they could do it. That was the Venus AI, uncensored. Uh,
I'm not a big fan of AI.
Me neither.
I'm not. I understand its use, but ultimately, man, it's going to be some Terminator Matrix type ish in this country and the world at some point, probably. Maybe, maybe.
Right. So, what do you plan? What's your plans now with these roommates and what going forward before we end this? Sort of where you at? Because if you want to come back another 6 months or a year, because that's what this is. It's like a timeline, a log to help people see this is real. These are real people. These are good people. We're good people. We're just going through stuff and being tortured with technology that the whole world thinks ain't real. And uh, I tried to convince my dad when this first started. I said, watch all these videos. I said, I can show you 10 different people on YouTube talking about their tar. I don't even want to see it. Don't even play it around me. I'm not going to listen. I'm like, really? Way to go with your open mind, Dad.
Right.
Um,
More than
so,
that. Use the
and
support.
so where are you going from here? Like, what's your strategy? Do you have a plan?
I I don't necessarily have a plan, but I do have a direction with end goals in mind, or not end goals, but just certain things that I'd like to achieve over a short period of time. And by short, I mean like, I don't know, maybe 2 years at the most. Um, because I don't really um have trust in anyone, really. Well, not any, but as much as I'm capable of, which is not much. I'm gonna keep working. I was able to get a job out here while I was living at my old roommate, in animal medicine out here. And if I'm able to, what I really want to do is get a Sprinter van and do that whole van life thing. and so that I can get away as much as possible from these towers, from all of this EMF in the environment. Because even if I shut my phone, my computer off, turn my Wi-Fi off, I'm still 3 feet away from a router, so I kind of just want to relocate and be mobile constantly. Um, you know, because I don't see myself getting any land and trying to settle down in a place like that. It's too, mm, I would rather be mobile. So ultimately, I want to work this job. I love animals. I love animal medicine. So that's what I'm gonna do.
And you're fortunate to have a job. Holly's got a job. Some TIs are so blacklisted they can't get jobs. So that's one thing you need to make sure you hold on to no matter what your V2K tries to tell you about your coworkers. Mm, that's
Yeah,
hard.
it is really rough too, even working like sometimes, and speaking about work, like, sometimes I'm able to really focus on work, but I've always got a headphone and it's Bluetooth. I know I shouldn't be wearing Bluetooth headphones. I know that they intensify the effects of everything, but it's what I have right now. But I've always got a podcast or one of your videos, or something like that playing in one ear so that I can concentrate on what the doctor and the patient needs. And sometimes it's not easy though. Sometimes the V2K hits me really tough while I'm at work and I can't go into work. It does not happen often, but when it does, I just know it's going to be nearly intolerable. Like the day that I was injured, that day I just kept saying I should have just stayed home. I should have just stayed home. I should have just stayed home. And I think I'm lucky enough now and my boss is understanding enough now, but it's still corporate, so, you've got certain numbers to adhere to and certain amounts of times you can call off without using PTO and sick pay and all that stuff. But I do appreciate that I have a job. I was already told when I was working at my last job that that would be the last job that I ever had, um, by V2K. So getting this job was like, awesome. I can still do the thing. Um, but yeah, I want to work. I want to get my Sprinter van, relocate me and my dog to various places around the country, preferably somewhere that doesn't get destroyed or wouldn't necessarily be targeted by WMDs. I don't know if we can say that, and I don't have any affiliation with that.
Right.
I'm a normal-ish person with no access to anything like that, but I just want to prepare just because the conflict in the world is absolutely bonkers with China and Russia and Ukraine and everything that's going on in the world right now. Like, I don't know. I'm just getting a lot of doomsday prep reels everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I just want to be prepared for that. Move somewhere more less coastal because I'm in California, so um
Yeah. Earthquake City.
Earthquake City. I'm on the San Andreas fault line. I'm not far away from the ocean. Like I gotta get out of here
Let me
ASAP.
ask, does multitasking help your V2K? It
Yes.
does mine. Multitasking and going like this. It breaks brain entrainment, actually. Control breathing.
So what I do is actually cyclical breathing, to where when it gets really rough, and I remember because my memory is extremely foggy. Sometimes it feels like I can only access memory that I'm allowed to access. Like a lot of my history is just gone from my brain. Um, but sometimes I'm able to remember things that'll help. So I'll do cyclical breathing, which is 3 sharp inhales through the nose and exhale through the mouth, sometimes quick exhale through the mouth, sometimes elongated exhale. That helps every now and then. The cyclical breathing, the deep breathing techniques. It kind of just helps me refocus and try to figure out, Lux, your butt. Move, dog. Move, Lux. Um, yeah, it just it helps me to try to maintain focus. But multitasking is also very helpful. Like I might have mentioned before in the previous video, but when I have downtime and I'm allowed to, I will play my a little game on here. on my laptop, and a lot of different parts of the brain are needed to play this game and to play it well. But it's a very good distraction. And I was fortunate enough to have found one of my coworkers who actually plays, so I play with him a lot. Um, who I also have to constantly, not constantly, but try to reassure myself he's not a perp. Not everyone's a perp. Everyone is biohackable, but not everyone's a perp. Always gotta.
Yeah, like when my PTSD, if I have a flashback, I'll start counting objects in the room, how many
Mm.
blue objects, how many red, and it'll bring me out of the flashback. Or uh, weird little ways everybody's got their own little quirks and ways to deal with it, I feel. Um, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Um, I don't think so. Aside from like, I know this is kind of ridiculous, but try not to have a heavy emotional response to anything. Don't be dull. Don't not allow yourself to feel if you're a feeling person. I'm a feeling and emotional person. Um, but I've noticed um they have been splitting my emotions up into different parts of my personality. And that is progress is made by them when they push you so far as to have extreme emotions. And for me, that's not easy at all. My emotions are all over the place. But if they want to split your personality for any reason, not having an extremely emotional reaction to anything could be helpful. I'm kind of going through that right now where they're splitting up certain aspects of my personality, like making some bits of time during the day extremely confident and rude even. And that's never been me. I've always been like a very um kind of mild person except for when it comes to expressing myself through music. Um, but they've been splitting those aspects of my personality, and that's something that V2K will say too. Like, oh, we're gonna make you so confident. Oh, you're so confident, 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 all the time. And I know that the progress is made by them when I allow myself to feel extremely like anger or extreme depression and sadness and like either end of the spectrum. So if you can like um maintain awareness of your emotions, um do that. And you don't be pushed one way or the other so intensely. It's not good. They will use that against you. Aside
And
from
try
that,
not to respond at all because any response gets put in gets used as data. They're trying to create a cognitive model of everybody's brain. So I was looking for it just now. I couldn't find it, but Brian too said try not to respond at all, any kind of response. So because it gets logged into remote neural monitoring data, any kind of response. It's hard, easier said than done. But
so much easier said than done.
well, I
It's
thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot talking about stuff. Please check in with us. Ignore a voice that tells you I'm a perp. Because but I understand. That's why I don't take offense when somebody thinks I'm a perp at all. I'll try to tell them, look, I'm not. I can tell somebody all day, but if your mind's telling you that, and you're going
Yep.
to go with it, you'll see later on I'm not. That's all. That's why I didn't take offense. Like some people might take offense, but I don't take offense because, I've thought people were perps that definitely weren't, but I was convinced. So I think we all go through that at times.
Yeah. And thanks for the understanding, by the way.
Oh, no problem.
I know it was really rude, but and to any, I guess, other viewers, if you do read the comments that I had posted on whatever video it was, I don't remember. Just take that as like, how do you take that? With an understanding that you can be pushed to believe whatever
I would say they're not
they
a
want you
TI if
to.
they've been in this community and hadn't thought one of their friends was a perp and got it wrong. Because I
Yeah.
think every TI goes through that.
Yeah, it's rough, but it's easier. I hate to say it, misery loves company, or suffering with familiars is suffering made easier. And it's kind of really narcissistic to say, but it is a relief, honestly, that there are people going through this, because the more awareness there is about this, the more people, who are significantly more intelligent than I am, with engineering backgrounds, and you know, when you're made aware of this and you're like a good person, you're inspired to, you know, come up and publicize technology that could hopefully be helpful, to TIs in the future. And that's what I'm really hoping for. Hold on to hope, because sometimes it's like the only thing that keeps you going is like, one day someone good is going to do something to help all of us. This is
Right.
rough. This cannot keep going on. It
Well,
cannot.
before we go, I want you to get the Sprinter van and come back on here and we'll do a video saying you achieved your goal because a lot of targets are so, like I said, this program will run psyops and make so a lot of targets sit back and they're like, all right, they're destroying everything, so I have no chance at nothing. So I challenge you to get that Sprinter van and come back on here and show targets it's possible to achieve a goal.
Bet. Bet. That is definitely top two goals. One is, of course, like survival. And then,
Right, right. You
and
got to
then
survive first.
exactly.
But I
But
think it's amazing you still have you're still setting goals because a lot of TIs are so beat down, and I was there for a lot of years. I thought everybody was in on it, everything was staged and all that, and a lot of it is. But the universe has say so too. What I feel, the way I see it, God's got say so, and He can make anything happen. So,
yeah.
well, thanks for coming out. You got a pretty dog.
Yeah, see how he looks. Hold on. That's
What
my
kind of dog is it?
She's a standard poodle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Me
I'm
again.
gonna stop recording and we can say our goodbyes. Hold on, let's see.